is finance. This is probably one of the most important things to know when you're trying to buy a property, because a lot of properties, especially these days, a lot of properties are going under the hammer. So they're being auctioned rather than private sale. And when it comes to auction, I guess you need to be aware of very important few things, and you just need to understand what you're getting yourself into. Finance approval. Obviously, before you do anything, whether that's private or auction, you need to have some sort of finance approval in place. Usually you get a pre-approval done before you go and start looking for a property. But if you go into an auction, auctions are unconditional. So if you're successful in an auction, then the property is yours. And if you fail to get finance sorted, then you can lose your deposit, which you're going to be paying immediately.
Yeah, and obviously when you get to auction day itself, there's still other preparation outside the finance side of things.
Second, you need to Welcome to another episode of the Brokers Lounge with Eddie and Carlo. And this week we're going to be talking about auctions and everything to know about auctions and finances, and some tips around auctions and everything in between. So hopefully we can bring some good value. But obviously before we start, I'd like to check on my favorite human being around here. Carlo, how are you, man?
I'm good.
Good?
Yeah.
Ticking along?
Kicking along nicely.
Ticking along nicely and still enjoying a bit of good weather.
Yeah, it's. I think it's going to be gone soonish, but hopefully not too soon.
Well, yeah,
If we can get another month and a half out of it, I'll be very happy. So
that's
yeah.
all right. So I'm praying for that. I would love to see you very happy.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
All right. So auctions and finance, and this is probably one of the most important things to know when you're trying to buy a property, because a lot of properties, especially these days, especially in Victoria, a lot of properties are going under the hammer. So they're being auctioned rather than private sale. And when it comes to auction, I guess you need to be aware of very important few things, and you just need to understand what you're getting yourself into. And you need to understand what to prepare for, how to be ready. So once you're there, you're not missing anything, right? So finance approval. Obviously, before you do anything, whether that's private or auction, you need to have some sort of finance approval in place. Now, usually you get a pre-approval done before you go and start looking for a property. But if you go into an auction, you got to make sure that this pre-approval has been fully assessed by a human being, and it's not a system-generated approval.
Not a bot.
Not a bot.
Approved by a bot.
A lot of bots these days as well. So you got to be mindful about that. And that is due to the fact where auctions are unconditional. So if you're successful in an auction, then the property is yours. And if you fail to get finance sorted, then you can lose your deposit, which you're going to be paying immediately if you win. And then you could be liable for any damages, like prolonging the campaign to put it on auction again, and the vacancy period, and just a whole lot of headaches. So you just really have to be careful and understand that the approval you have has been done properly, and you've gotten a decent feedback from your broker or bank that you're good to go. So that is something that you really need to be mindful about. Probably that's the first step in the checklist.
Yeah, 100%. Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Second, you need to make sure you've got the funds available for the deposit that you need to pay. So usually on auction, if you're successful, you need to pay 5 to 10% depending on what the vendors are asking for. So you need to make sure you've got access to these funds and you can pay the deposit straight away. And also, that's something I guess we'll get into in more detail later on, but you really need to know where you cap with the price, because you can get emotional in an auction and you just push it a bit more than you should, and you could fall outside the range that you can afford. So you just need to be really careful about these three things before you get started.
Yeah, and obviously when you get to auction day itself, there's still other preparation outside the finance side of things that you need to be really prepared for, because essentially, the maximum purchase price or price, it shouldn't be basically what the agent's quoting, that's for sure. So they will always quote a range. Here in Melbourne, we typically see it go fair above that range.
5 to 10% less in certain instances.
In terms of the quota range.
Yeah.
Yeah. In terms of the final sale price.
No, they under advertise it.
Yeah, and then so there's, you don't want to be paying what the agent wants you to pay because they're basically driven by the commission they make on that property itself. You don't want to be driven by what other bidders are wanting you to pay or wanting to pay as well. So you just got to do a lot of homework as well with regards to each of the properties. One of the big things is obviously comparable sales.
Yep.
So, and look, most people do this to a certain degree, and they should be, if they're not doing it themselves, they should be basically leaning on a real estate agent as well, and who knows the area quite well. Get them to understand the property that they're going for. How does that compare with other sales in the area? What do those properties end up selling for? Are they inferior or superior to the one you're actually going to bid for? So you can come up with a bit of a range, I guess, in your own mind as to where that property should actually sit, rather than what someone else is telling you where it should actually sit. So, and a lot of that should be also around your comfort levels as well. So once you've worked out roughly what the range is going to look like, okay, then doing the numbers in terms of from a repayment point of view, how does that work? Is there enough of a buffer there for you as well, so that you're not stressed to the max?
Yeah.
Great buying a property, but if you're going to end up walking away after that and going, oh crap, I can't afford this thing, or it's going to put so much pressure on me, I'm not going to be able to sleep at night. Well, it just sort of defeats the purpose, and you don't want people to have that taken away from them. So it all comes down to the risk tolerance of each individual or individuals that are purchasing the property, to make sure that all the numbers stack up really well. So do your research, work out in terms of the range itself. A lot of people I've seen do it where they've actually got it written down. And they can say, okay, this is where we're going to start off. Start off in terms from a bid point of view. Quite often that can be blown out of the water with someone else's first bid, but at least have that range written down, and then set that upper limit as well. The main thing is you've really got to stick to it, because the minute you start going over that limit, then you're in that unknown territory, because that upper limit should really be in line with the pre-approval as well that you've got. A good broker will pretty much let you know what's your upper limit looking like from a borrowing point of view. So we can do the numbers backwards from there and say, okay, based on that and what you can contribute to the property itself, this is what your upper end purchase price is going to look like. So, like I said, have it written down, but make sure you're committed to actually stopping at that upper limit as well. Don't keep going. I'll put my hand up and go, I've been guilty of that in the past before, because especially when you're buying a house to live in, emotion starts to creep in. And you sit there and going, oh, what's another $5,000? Before you know it, you've got what's an extra another $20,000?
100%.
So, and in this day and age where people are really pushing the envelope in terms of from a borrowing point of view, you've really got to make sure you stick to those limits, because that little bit extra can tip you over the line in terms of not going from not being able to service a loan to not being able to service a loan.
Yeah.
And then it all goes right from there. So
yes, and other than servicing, obviously the higher the purchase price, then the higher the stamp duties are, and the higher the contribution is. So it's not just about servicing, it's about your contribution as well. Like, you don't want to go too far over your budget and then run out of savings to contribute for the purchase, and that could be another issue altogether. So yeah, that's why I guess when we do it, we work around a comfortable purchase price, and then we leave a bit of buffer just in case, like, you need that extra 5-10K on top to get the property. In the grand scheme of things, it's nothing, right? But I guess when you push 50-60K on top, that's where you start pushing it really hard. So yeah, that's why, like you said, preparation is everything in an auction.
Yeah.
Because
it just, excuse me. Okay, go on. I was about to pull through.
I'll Yeah, you're good.
I'm good now. Yeah,
There.
sorry.
Make sure you don't lose your voice as well.
Well, you can lose your voice because you just got all your hand. Yeah, that's not too bad at all. So, but yeah, like you said, preparation is absolutely paramount because it does protect you in the end when it comes to emotional bidding. So if you've done the preparation work from or your due diligence around the actual property itself to your numbers from your finance point of view, just hold you in good stead so that when the hammer does go down, you're a successful bidder, you're going to sit there and go, I did it right. So, and you want to see smiles on people's faces.
Yeah,
The opposites.
100%. And obviously part of that preparation is, we mentioned earlier, pre-approvals. You need to really make sure your finance is in order because there's no finance clause on an auction. So you can't exit the contract if finance is not granted. So there's no finance clause there. Obviously, one of the biggest ones is the building and pest and the contract. So there's no subject to sale clause. You're just buying the property as is. And what I usually find people get frustrated is if you're going to auctions and you're getting building and pest done before and getting the solicitor to review the contract, and then you're not, successful at bidding, that's like a cost that you have to pay up front every time. And then by the third property, you're like sick of it. And you either go ahead and buy without inspecting the property.
You're about $5,000 underwater in costs.
Exactly. Or you just go over the limit. That's where it gets really frustrated. And I totally get it. I've been there and it sucks because you're just getting building done. I think whoever's selling the property should be able to provide a building and pest.
I'd actually
where people can refer to it.
I'd love to actually see it as part of the overall selling
contract. Because that way it's there available when people request it and they can, if they want to do extra, they can do that at their own expense. But so, yeah, unfortunately, there's no other way around it. You have to order the pest and build inspection, and you're going to have to pay for it. And obviously, you need your solicitor to review the contract just to make sure there's no hidden clauses in there, easements, I don't know, there's overlay, whatever it is, it's all going to be there in the contract to review prior. So, yes, I guess if you're actually serious about the property, it's within your reach, you've done your due diligence, then you need to get that done before auction. You're happy with it, then you can go on auction day and give it your best shot. Otherwise, you're just going to waste your time and money, and it's going to, just create frustration. So, that's part of the preparation.
Yes. And then we get to obviously auction day itself. And hopefully people are successful. But I guess, as like you said earlier on, you need to be mindful of a few things. One is obviously the deposit, because typically once you sign that little contract of sale, the agent will be going, where's the 10% deposit? So what I suggest to people is if you want to aim for a lower deposit amount, like say 5%, which is possible, make sure you clear that off with the real estate agent prior to the auction day itself, because they'll check it with the vendor, make sure they're actually comfortable with that. Same with settlement terms as well. Typically, contracts will be 45, 60 days or 30 days, whatever it might be. If you need a longer settlement or you want a shorter one to align with something else that you're doing, you may have sold your property and you want to have your settlement dates closely aligned or on the same day, make sure you get all those questions out of the way and wait for the contract to be actually signed and said, oh, by the way, can we have settlement in 120 days? And they're going, well, no, we're settling on this in 60 days. So do the homework first, have the conversations earlier on. With regards to paying the deposit as well, there are, I guess, circumstances where you can actually transfer the money online as well. In this day and age, no one really has any checkbook. I remember that in the old days. Like, you'd have to have a blank check ready to
Welcome to the new age, Carlo.
Yeah, thank you. Where is it going? But one of the things to make sure of
bags of cash.
Yeah, bring a suitcase for you there. Imagine that, just slam you down on the table and go, there you go,
here's $50,000.
But if you are transferring money from a bank account, make sure you check your internet banking limits. Make sure that the limits are high enough that if you need to transfer 10%, that you're going to be able to do that without the bank turning around going, by the way, your limit's only $5,000 a day. And all of a sudden you can't make the payment because it's going to make the situation quite sticky. So
They're usually a bit lenient. Like if you're, if you explain that, all right, I've got a limit of 20 and then I'll transfer the rest or whatever. But I guess also important to mention to verify the bank details that you receive via email, just to make sure you're not transferring to the wrong account. A lot of scams going around. So
yeah,
just worth mentioning.
yeah. And the other thing to keep in mind too, if you are successful and you sign that contract to sale, you legally have an interest in that property from day one, not from the date, but you actually settle on that property right from that minute. So I know a lot of people are sort of like encouraged to take out insurance cover straight away. Now, yes, it's an extra cost that not everyone really wants to have to fork out straight away. You're quite legally entitled to wait until the actual settlement date to start your insurance cover from that particular date. But if you really want to protect yourself, because you do actually have a legal interest in that property, a lot of people do get recommended to take out insurance from that date when you basically sign the contract.
If you win, right?
If you win, yes, great. Not
Don't go around getting insurance for.
I've got to insure your property. Is that okay? No, all good. So yeah, just some little things to keep in mind on the actual auction day itself. So like, once again, we're all about trying to make that auction day successful, smooth sailing, no issues. And then obviously months between the actual auction day itself and settlement, just make sure in terms of your employment, you try and keep that quite stable. You don't go chopping and changing jobs in between, because even if you've got a pre-approval in place, you typically have to confirm that with up-to-date pay slips, and then if things have changed, well, it can create some issues. Hopefully not. Try not to take on any new debts as well. That's a big one as well. And obviously, if there's other major financial changes, make sure you've got that ticked off with your broker or your banker. That's for sure. So, because like I said, even with pre-approval in place, the bank still has its final checks to do. So,
100%. And that's obviously if you're successful at an auction, right?
correct. Yeah.
Just let your broker know and get the process started to get that full approval done. Now, in the event you're unsuccessful, which is very common, first of all, don't get too upset about it. I usually tell my clients it's not meant to happen. And some people look at me, it's like, what the hell are you talking about? But really, there's no other way to think about it. But it's not meant to happen. It's not going to be the last property. And before you know it, you'll find the property that's meant to be for you. If that's done, obviously, and it's your first auction, right? You just learn the vibe of an auction. You just remember how it went during the day. You reflect on, okay, where did I push it? Where did I do wrong? Did I start high? Did I get scared? Did I get too emotional? Did I get carried away? So it can be a good time to just see where you missed the point and what you did right, what you did wrong, refine the process for the next auction, reassess your comfort levels. As that usually happens, usually with clients after 2-3 auctions, they get really, really frustrated and they're like, okay, we need to push it higher, right? Because the limit we're working with is not happening. So you can get in touch with your broker, just let them know, look, can we push it another 50 or 100,000? That would take you really become really competitive and you've got a higher chance of winning, but you don't want to overpay for that property. And obviously stay disciplined. Like you said before, try not to take on new debts, change your employment, keep your finance approval going. If there's a rate change that's very important, I guess, to mention. If the rates change during your approval process, make sure it's revised and you can still service the loan you've applied for originally. So yeah, basically, if we are to recap,
what would be a good checklist?
A checklist. So we've got fully assessed pre-approval, not system generated. Walk-away price locked in. You know what your maximum is. Your deposit funds are ready and accessible, and you can transfer them within 2 business days from.
Can I just interrupt for that?
Of course.
This is where I think a lot of people do get caught out as well. They're having those deposit funds accessible, because a lot of people will go to an auction thinking that they've got enough equity in their current property, and in their eyes, they see that as readily available funds, where they may not have even done the preparation in terms of getting that equity actually unlocked. They may have a loan where they don't have access to any redraw or anything like that. So it's important that you really get that bit sorted out. And look, 9 times out of 10, it is okay. But I've seen before where people have gone there and like day before auction, they're going, so how do I pay the 10% deposit? I've got this equity in my property.
Well, usually if they're working with a broker, they would have told them how to. And that usually happens when there's I don't want to divert too much, but it happens if you've got a security guarantee, like if you're using your parents' property as a guarantee and you're not paying anything, that's where it can be an issue because you need to pay that initial 5 to 10% if you're successful. So couple of ways to go about this. One is get a term deposit done, like through one of the providers. You can get a term deposit. They pay if the vendor accepts and the real agent accepts, or you just borrow funds until settlement and then you get reimbursed back, whether a personal loan or parents or friends or whatever.
Also important for the first home buyers where they may be using the government guarantee scheme where they only have to come up with the 5% deposit, and they may not have actually discussed that with the real estate agent, and for the hammer, they're wanting a 10% deposit. And the buyers are sitting going, well, we're only putting 5% towards it, so where am I get the other 5% from? So it's important to have those discussions. That's
100%. So yeah, that's the funds available part. You need your contract reviewed by a solicitor. You need the building and pest checked and done to make sure there's no issues with the property. If you're successful, you need to organize your insurance and speak with your broker to get full approval and settlement ready. I guess if you just follow and you've got someone to guide you, it just eliminates some of the stress because it can be quite stressful. You don't know what to do, where to go. So having someone to guide you, we do hundreds of those every year. So you would probably know a little bit better than if you're doing that for the first time. So yeah, just rely on people's expertise and people who have done it for a long time. You could make your life easier, right?
Yeah.
So
100%.
That is my checklist.
Very good. Thank you, Eddie. I guess just to summarize and have a few key takeaways. Auctions really do reward people who are prepared, not just the confident buyers out there. I think in the old days it used to be if you went out to an auction, you looked all nice and confident and, threw your hand up every now and then or whatever, you'd end up winning an auction. But it does definitely reward those who are prepared. Now, preparedness also creates confidence as well. If you can go to an auction confident because you're so well prepared, that's a great thing. It's a great outcome. So you want to walk away or walk into an auction day very well structured, confident, financially protected. Just going back to that when we talked about the pre-approvals, system approval, for those who may not understand what we're talking about there, obviously checking with it. The broker will always know whether it's a system-generated pre-approval or a fully assessed pre-approval as well. And if they're not telling you, just ask them the question because you definitely want to know. I think that's, I think there's a lot of good key takeaways with all this. At the end of the day, we're just here to help arm you with the right tools so that if you are going to auction, you are prepared and you get the right outcome that you're looking for as well, not the wrong outcome, that's for sure. So
yeah, definitely you're looking for the right outcome there. I guess really that's it. No matter how much you prepare, there's always the emotional element in auctions, whether you're buying or selling, really, because it's very uncertain. You don't know what you're up against. You don't know. It's a big commitment you're getting yourself into, but just trust that hundreds and thousands of people have done it before. Hundreds of thousands of people will do it after, as long as you're comfortable with your cash flow, with your income, you like the area you're going to be, then really just don't overthink it and don't over-plan it. Sometimes it can be counterintuitive to just over-plan because you're always going to be missing something. But yes, definitely being prepared, understanding your numbers, understanding what you're after can go a long way. And obviously working with the right people, this is very important to have that emotional and data support behind you. It goes a long way. So yeah, hopefully we managed to add some value.
Yes.
Right? You wanna?
Oh, about that, yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Well, firstly, thank you for tuning in to another episode of the Brokers Lounge. We hope you've enjoyed it. We hope you've learnt a lot from this as well. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our podcast. And if you really enjoy what you've seen or heard, give us that 5-star rating. But until next time, we bid you farewell.
Thank you very much. See ya. Bye.
Disclaimer: the information contained in this podcast is general in nature and does not take into account your personal circumstances. Head to the show notes if you want to book a free call to discuss your personal situation.